When creating richly developed characters in a game like Primal, the voice is just as important as the animation.
When it came to casting the actors for the voiceovers, we wanted to use actors that were really going to get into the parts and really have fun with the characters. They're the kind of people that are really going to bring that character to life.
Well, no.
The poor Undyne Adaro was attacking must have been dead for days.
Well, if he does that to him, just think what he'd be like with us.
With Jen, we needed someone that was going to be able to give us a real warmth to her character, but also be able to really get into the demon side of Jen and really let go and, you know, really sound quite fierce. And
Really did?
Beat the crap out of him?
I think the reason that they wanted me is because I played a character called Callisto on Xena, Princess Warrior. So I knew at that point when they liked that show that this was going to be based on a strong woman and there was going to be fighting involved.
Scree was really the toughest character because we wanted a voice which didn't sound like Scree looked, if you see what I mean. So it wasn't like a little guy's voice, or it wasn't a silly voice. It was a voice that had kind of nobility and kind of depth to it. And the only voice we could really think of was inspired by a character in Babylon 5 called Chikar. And this character was played by an actor called Andreas Katsoulas.
But I doubt we've seen the last of King Adaro.
So when they conceived of this whole thing in the character of Scree, in their minds, they really heard Jakar somehow in that role, or more precisely me, I guess. So
They've been dead for days. It's the Undyne.
Although both of the actors had done TV and film, this was their first video game experience.
It's different working on a video game than a film because you don't have to worry about the way you look. It's not my body, it's not my likeness. It's just my voice, and it's my interpretation of the character. Then I get to act with Andres, and that makes it brilliant. And so you are acting, you're not just speaking or reading lines.
I wouldn't want to do it without my fellow actor also working with me. I don't think I'd be able to do it as well without this ongoing relationship with Hudson, who's right there, and we really get into it together. So it's like doing a little mini play that no one will ever see.
Fight with great distinction.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing shown to us beforehand as to what the scene will be.
They gave me a breakdown on all the characters, on all the different worlds, on all the different beings in the different worlds.
So we're given that, and then it's just up to our imaginations to, you know, to go with it. And then everything that they draw and animate around that, we see later.
Now that they have a taste of what video games are all about, will this turn them into die-hard gamers?
I've never really come into this century yet, but this might motivate me in terms of my son and my daughter as well. I think they'll both be interested in going through this together, and I wouldn't be surprised if they want me to play along with them.
I bought a PlayStation 2, and I played for 24 hours within a week. My friends were like, you have to brush your teeth, you have to wash your hair, you have to take a shower, and I wouldn't. It's like a drug. I don't know how people play games and go to sleep and get up and exercise or go to work. It's not possible.
Primal, the first title on PlayStation 2 from the developers behind the BAFTA award-winning Medieval series, takes you on a journey to a world lying just below the surface of ordinary life.
Primal is the story of one girl's adventures through a fantasy world. She's a girl from the modern world, as we understand it, and she's brought into a series of demon realms by a character called Scree, who's been sent as a guardian and an advisor to take her through these series of adventures, during which she learns about herself, her background, who she really is, the powers that she has in her.
I believe that you are Arella's chosen.
And during the game you get to develop these powers, you learn about the characters and the environments in the world, and you get to see that behind the world that we know is a struggle, it's a constant struggle between the forces of order and chaos for the control of all our lives.
Jen is the character chosen to save the Four Realms. This, however, is no mean feat, and to succeed she will have to battle evil, overcome terrifying obstacles, and solve deadly puzzles.
Most of our puzzles are very kind of environmental puzzles, so although we've got doors and keys and kind of more traditional puzzles, we've tried to kind of stay away from that as much as we can. Probably a puzzle that springs to mind is at the start of the first realm you play. Jen hasn't got any weapons at that point, she can't fight, she's not got a knife yet. And then you come across a cave that's got lots of nasty beasts inside that she's not going to go in there because she's going to get eaten.
You hear those growls, Scree?
That sounds like Malkai. They're primitive, territorial beasts. Huge teeth, fearsome claws, fond of the dark.
Scree, being made of stone, isn't particularly tasty looking to these creatures, so he can go through there. And then because they're kind of quite beast, kind of wolf-like kind of creatures, they're actually scared of fire. So he goes off, finds a torch, and then brings it into the cave, and then he can keep all those animals at bay so that Jen can go through unharmed.
With 4 vast realms to negotiate, Jen comes face to face with a number of demon races, each with very different customs,
Abinagdi, Abinagdi.
environments, and dangers.
There are 4 very distinct different demon worlds that we have in Primal. We wanted to make them as different from one another as we could.
We have a world called Solum, which is a world that's always nighttime here, and we have a race called the Ferai who live here, who are kind of rugged hunters.
Our second realm is Aquis, which is almost entirely underwater, and the race that live there are called the Undine, and they populated the area with this huge arcane filtration machines to keep the water clean. And part of the gameplay in that area is Jen has to get the filtration system working again so the characters can survive in there.
The third realm in the game is called Ether, and we have a race of demons here we call Wraith, and these are really nasty characters. They're almost like vampires in the way that they kind of lead their lives.
The last realm that you venture through is the realm of Volca, which is a world set in a huge, dry, dusty volcano. And the race that live there are the Jinn. And when you first arrive there, the volcano is dormant, it's asleep, and the Jinn are inactive. But as you adventure and explore through these corridors and chambers, the light and the heat that you bring wakes them up, and suddenly you find you've got an entire race of people all suddenly coming to life that you have to deal with.
The characters of Jen and Scree dominate the game. Jen quickly puts into practice her ability to morph between demon and human form, whilst Scree proves invaluable with his mental agility and special skills.
Jen and Scree both got very different abilities. Jen's abilities are all based around her demon forms, so with each demon form she gets a different weapon, and all her abilities are kind of very focused towards combat and that side of things. We've got about, I think it's about 20 attacks for each of the different demon forms that she's got, so it's quite a lot of moves. And then it's kind of a free-form system, so if you keep hitting strong, you're going to do lots of strong attacks. And the deeper down the combo list you get, the cooler, the more powerful, more impressive-looking attacks you get.
Scree, what's with the glowing stuff?
It happens when I'm close to stone figures resonating with Ferai energy. It means I can temporarily transfer my soul into any statue formed from this material.
Scree doesn't fight at all, so his side of things is much more kind of based on the exploration of puzzles. So he can climb walls, he can jump, he can lift heavy objects. It's very much based around his kind of strength.
Any music featured within Primal had to reflect the intensity and pace of the game. The Prague Philharmonic Orchestra added their interpretation to the adventure.
The cutscenes which we're recording with the orchestra at the moment, there were 2.5 hours worth of them. And unlike seeing it as 1 2.5 hour film, it's more like 5 half-an-hour films, because you're associating a very different sound, instrumentation, themes, everything for each individual level, as well as trying to create a kind of cohesive whole so that each level does sound like it has some related components.
With the kind of originality so rarely glimpsed on a games console, Primal is not only a feast for the senses, but also compulsive to play. The battles faced and worlds encountered make this a dark, compelling classic.
carries you into a world that combines demon realms with the present day, so the music had to reflect that. Game director Chris Sorrell dug deep into his personal CD collection.
The music is by a band called 16 Volt, and it's a band that I had some CDs of, and one night I was just listening to them and thinking about the music that we wanted for the game and thinking, this works, this is the kind of stuff we want.
Chris from Cambridge just wrote me an email. I guess he's been a fan of the band for a long time, and just asked me if I'd be interested to do some music for this game, Primal. Of course, I was instantly interested, and it just sort of like blossomed really quickly from there.
Once we knew we were going to work with 16 Volt to provide the combat music, it also gave us an answer to another question we had, which was what would Lewis's band sound like at the start of the game?
Over the past 11 years, 16 Volt have recorded 3 albums and toured countless miles from their home base in Los Angeles.
2, 2, 1. We basically like to call ourselves an electronic punk band. We try to bring the rawness of punk rock and mix it with electronics.
Maybe you can explain, why is guitar players always gotta with their stuff all day?
Sound check.
Not only did 16 Volt contribute tunes from their albums, but they also wrote songs specifically for the game.
It's a mix. We used some stuff off our last record. I think they used like 6 songs off the last record, and I think 3 new songs that we have.
I think we're doing Suffering You is in there. Happy Pill is going to be used. And they chopped up a lot of stuff and used it like in little intros and things like that, which was really cool. Because when we saw it at E3, we were like, oh yeah, that song is from, that bit was from this song, and it was really cool.
Here we go. The 3 new songs I think they used will end up, coming out on a new record at some point. And we actually just re-released a double CD with some remixes on it by Filter, Orgy, Crazy Town. It's a pretty cool CD, and it has some demo versions of stuff we've been working on.
The first time the band got to see the game with their music was at this year's E3 show.
Yeah, we all went down to E3 together and checked it out, hung out with the designers, and those guys are all really cool, and got to play the game for a little while, and they actually came back to our place and brought the game and played it pretty much the rest of the night. It's a great game. Oh, it was rad, man. It was just to see it and see the songs interpreted in a different way. Because when Eric comes up with a vocal line or an idea, I get an idea in my head of what it's about, but then to see it fit in the video game, it worked perfectly. Like the trailer that they were using, they were even incorporating some of Eric's lyrics into the whole story line of the game. There's a part where he says, I'm in love with the devil. And she's in love with me. So his lyrics not only work, but the music itself is hard and driving. And so it kind of feeds the fight scenes. Whenever she gets into a fight, there's the 16 Volt music.
16 Volt was excited to contribute music to Primal, as they are avid gamers themselves.
Yeah, I play all the time. I'm pretty into State of Emergency, Grand Theft Auto, things like that. Get it out on the video instead of on the street,
Yeah, I play games all the time. We're all game freaks. It's cool. It's really different to be playing a game and hear your music. I know that other people are going to hear it. It's like an honor to be a part of it.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm dead.
You have left the physical mortal world and now stand in the nexus, the convergence point for energies drawn from the 4 realms of oblivion. Time stands still in 4 realms connected to the Nexus, with the might of chaos and order eternally battling. A balance between them must also be fought for. Here at the heart of the Nexus is where that happens. Each realm has its own natural balance, eternally generating the right levels of primal energy.
What have you done to me?
Stay calm. You are in control of this. You may change form when you desire. There's nothing to be afraid of. Your humanity is not lost.
God, Giga. I will have my revenge. Why defy the one that made you? Jennifer.
They can smell fear, you know.
Half-breed, there he goes again. Ever get the feeling you're being watched?
Goodbye, Jen.